Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here on my YouTube channel. I am the vocally impaired John Campea, and it is an honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you guys joining me as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news. And yes, I know my voice is a complete wreck right now. I did not recover from Vegas. I did some 3-hour shows, some 5-hour shows, a 6-hour show, whatever. So my apologies. You're going to have to just grin and bear with the sound of my voice today. But believe me, it's worth it, because we've got some great stuff to talk about, and we've got a couple of great people to talk about it with. First of all, the great Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, how you doing, sir?
John, I am doing fantastic. I cannot believe we're 6 days away from Thrones, buddy.
Oh my gosh, I totally forgot about that.
6 days, brah. That's like God created the earth in that time, and we're getting Thrones.
I have been so caught up with Shazam coming out, with the Endgame tickets and all that. I totally forgot about it. This week, Game of Thrones comes back, and somebody else who's going to be watching Game of Thrones, of course, is Ashley Whalen. Ashley, how you doing?
Hey, I absolutely will be watching it. I cannot wait. I'm doing great. I'm glad to be back. It's been a week. I am excited that I heard about your Vegas trip. It sounded great. I caught up on shows and movies, and just happy to be here again.
Yeah, there was a lot of very, very cool stuff that we got to see. I mean, we did some recap videos as we were in Vegas, but as we pointed out in Vegas, a lot of great stuff. We made a bunch of videos about it, and hopefully you guys had a chance to check that out. We saw a lot of wonderful stuff, wonderful trailers, wonderful clips, wonderful footage, some great movies we hadn't even heard about. You guys can check out our studio panel reviews that are up on my YouTube channel right now, so go and check those out. Okay, with that down and out of the way, let's get into a couple things right off the top here. One of the things we're going to talk about here first is this. There's been a lot of stuff going on surrounding Suicide Squad. A lot of Suicide Squad stuff, not the least of which is the James Gunn coming. Then, you know, it's going to be an entirely new cast. No, now Margot Robbie is going to be playing Harley Quinn again. And then, no, Will Smith is probably going to be playing Deadshot again. Now, no, wait. Will Smith is out. Now it's Idris Elba. Idris Elba is going to be playing Deadshot. Well, now apparently, according to reports, that ain't happening either. See, Idris Elba is apparently going to be in the movie, but he's going to be playing another character. They're not going to be having Deadshot in the movie. And I'll tell you what, Rob, to me, this makes more sense. This makes more sense to me that they're going to be doing this, and I'll tell you why. Because they were initially kind of saying that James Gunn was going to take this whole thing in an entirely new direction.
Right.
All new characters, all new this, all new that. And then we heard, okay, well, Harley Quinn's going to be back. Well, all right. And Deadshot and Amanda Waller. And then suddenly now it just feels like just a regular sequel to the last Suicide Squad. Hearing this makes good sense. So Idris Elba coming in, he's not playing Deadshot, a totally different character. Personally, I like this news. It gives James Gunn, to me, a little bit more flexibility. And you hear this, what do you think about it?
Well, I think it's a smart move. And then I heard Joel Hinneman. Is it Joel Hinneman? He might be coming back too. And they're doing a whole. I mean, look, I don't know. Suicide Squad did not underperform. It made a lot of money.
Yeah,
and it overperformed. And I think that people are going to want to expect to see those same characters. I don't think doing a reboot to a successful movie is necessarily a good thing. I think it's smart. I think James Gunn's playing the smart card here. He knows that he's got another job after this one, which is great. So I think he's going to give the people what they want, but also give us what we want, and that it's going to be a much better movie. And look, Idris Elba, I think Idris Elba has never been given his due, frankly, on the big screen. Everything he's done is not quite panned out as well as it probably could have. Maybe that'll change with Hobbs and Shaw, because he looks awesome in that, even though Justice for Han. And I think that, the Gunslinger didn't do as well as it should. And I think that maybe bringing him back might give him that box office success, and it allows him to create a new indelible character. He doesn't follow in the footsteps of Will Smith, who I thought was fine in the role.
Yeah, oddly enough. And I was a little bit nervous going into Suicide Squad that Will Smith, all I would see is Will Smith. But I didn't. Like, he took over the role. It was great. Idris Elba had a really nice moment at CinemaCon, even though he wasn't there, where Dwayne Johnson and Jason Statham came on stage, and they talked about how, I think the director of the film was there, and he said, and we have Idris Elba as the bad guy, the sexiest man alive. Of course, he was just anointed sexiest man alive, and Rock is like,
right.
whoa, time out. It's like Idris Elba is the second sexiest man alive, which was pretty funny. So, Rob, hearing that it's going to be a new character, do you got any ideas or any theories or any notions about who he might possibly play going into something like this?
You know what? I don't. I mean, there's a lot of characters to choose from. I really don't. I think it's going to be very surprising what it is or who it is. I was.
Do you think
thinking
there's
about
any
that.
chance? Do you think there's any chance it could be an actual original character, like a character that has not been in the comics?
You know what? Maybe, but I think James Gunn already had. If this is happening, and James Gunn wrote it, I think James Gunn went into the DC pantheon of villains and is going to make somebody that we might recognize from his name, but totally make him James Gunnified.
Right.
I think it's going to be.
I like that.
He's gonna Gunnify it, and he's gonna give it the Idris Elba twist. And I think whoever it's going to be delicious. And I
agree.
Stoked. I mean, I've been an Idris Elba fan since Stringer Bell and The Wire.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I didn't even know he was British. I can't.
Because he played it that well in the show.
He was so good. When I found out he was British, it literally freaked me out. It wasn't like finding out. I knew Dr. House was British, but to find out Idris Elba was British, I was like, what? I mean,
what I get that a lot with? I get that with James McAvoy a lot. Like you often forget, not only is he Scottish, dude, he's got one of the heaviest, thickest Scottish accents. And when you hear him in interviews, it's like, wait. It's just kind of, it throws you for a little bit of a loop.
Yeah.
All right, guys, let's move on to our next thing off the top here, and that's this. Now, one of the things that Robert and I talked about when we were in Vegas was that Marvel showed us this entire scene from Avengers Endgame, and we talked to you guys a little bit about it. Well, I said at the time, I feel comfortable talking to you guys about this because I believe they're going to ultimately release this as a promo clip. And sure enough, today I checked, and they have. The Let's Go Get Thanos clip has been dropped. Now, in this clip, what we see is it's the scene that we talked about in a previous video. It's the scene where the Avengers are gathered, or, amongst those who are left, minus Tony, by the way, are all gathered around talking about, okay, we've discovered that Thanos has used the stones again. We think we have a location for him. And everybody's like, okay, let's go get him. And the plan is just simple. Let's go get him. Get the stones, use the stones to undo whatever Thanos did. And somebody says, just like that? And Cap goes, yeah, just like that. Then they have this discussion and debate, and Rhodey's like, well, whoa, time out, we tried this before, and Banner's giving some cautions and all this kind of stuff. It's a good, solid scene. It kind of lays out the whole plan that the Avengers are going to have. And the plan is really quite simple. Let's go get Thanos. Get him to use the stones to undo what he did. We got all of us here now. We've got Thor with us. We got Captain Marvel with us. Let's go kick his ass and do this. And Rob, if nothing else, only seeing this scene, we talked about this when we were in Vegas, but seeing this scene only kind of solidified for me that theory that we've had that there is going to be a big confrontation with Thanos in the first act of this film, maybe even the first half of the first act of this film, that they fail. For whatever reason, whether they can't overcome Thanos, which I don't think is going to happen, or because they do take on Thanos and Thanos goes, hey guys, no more stones, the gauntlet doesn't work anymore, or something that leaves our heroes in a place of utter despair, there is no hope, and then later Scott Lang comes out of the quantum realm to give them new hope. Anyway, that's what I got out of this spot in this trailer. So Rob, just once again, quickly, give us your thoughts on this spot, and then what, if any, theories and stuff like this, does this spot solidify, and does this spot kind of destroy for you? What did you think?
Well, first of all, this is about half as long. The clip that they released it's like half as long as what we saw. What we saw was much longer, and I thought, it's still great that they released it. But I love this scene a lot because, and I also heard this weekend, I watched the Avengers Endgame press conference, and I didn't realize that Brie Larson shot all of her scenes as Captain Marvel for Endgame before she shot her scenes for the Captain Marvel movie itself. I didn't know that.
Interesting.
So it's going to be really interesting that we're going to get the Russo's vision or version of what Captain Marvel was supposed to be predates what we got in the movie. So I thought that was cool because she seems much tougher and much more confident in the Endgame clip.
Which makes sense because in Endgame, it's decades later. It's decades after
later,
she got her power. Right.
It really worked. I think it's really working. But I think you're absolutely right. I think they're going to go to Thanos wherever he is. We hear from Nebula that it's in the garden. This place that he was planning to always go to was the garden, which was obviously the planet we saw at the end, or wherever the location is at the end of Infinity War. I think they're going to go to him. There's probably going to be a big battle. Probably maybe it'll outdo Civil War. I don't know, but I think they're going to get their asses handed to them. And
really?
Thanos is like, I think they're going to get defeated, or you know what? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they defeat Thanos, and Thanos is but I don't think so. I think they're going to fight him, and they're going to realize there's no gauntlet to take, or maybe they stop fighting in the middle before they deliver the killing blow, or, like I've said before, they actually kill Thanos. They kill him. They kill him. There's nothing wrong with the gauntlet's useless. And they're going to be like, see, Gilbert thinks they're going to kill Thanos too. They're going to kill Thanos. They've got no gauntlet, and they're empty-handed. They leave the garden or wherever they are empty-handed, and then the true despair sets in. The Avengers realize they are truly soundly beaten and demoralized, and maybe that's where a big time jump occurs. Maybe that's where we see 3 years in the future, and it takes Scott Lang that much time, and that's where we see the world really go to shit. Because somebody said that they showed a clip at this press conference where they established that it opens 22 days after the end of Infinity War, so everything is fairly new. We're 3 weeks after the decimation. They got a plan. They're going to go execute it, and then it all goes to hell, and the world goes to hell, and it isn't until years later when Scott Lang shows up, he escapes from the quantum realm, and they can start again. They have another plan. That's what it seemed like to me.
There's two interesting options here. One, I think maybe they defeat Thanos, because if they defeat Thanos, that opens up the door to your theory that there could be another villain. If Thanos kicks their ass, then Thanos is the villain throughout the whole film. I mean, I think that just goes without saying. If Thanos defeats him soundly, so I think they defeat Thanos in that first fight. However, one thing that goes to your point, I think, is I've also believed that Captain Marvel has pretty much been unmatched as she's traveled throughout the universe doing her thing. And she comes back, and we see in this scene, she's supremely confident. Let's go get Thanos. I'm going to go kill Thanos. You couldn't beat him before? That's okay. You didn't have me. I think there may be a little bit of a butt whooping coming for Captain Marvel to kind of be her first real taste of loss, her first defeat, right? And then she's got to deal with that. Like, wait a minute, I thought I have the power of an Infinity Stone in me. I thought I couldn't be beat. So there's a couple of very interesting ways that they could unroll this. There's a couple of very different philosophies they could approach with this. So I don't know. I think it's fascinating. There's a lot of things. Guys, what do you think about this? After watching this clip that's online now, what has it done to your theories? What has it strengthened? What has it weakened? Where do you think they're going to go from here? Jump into the comments section below, or use the super chats for us to talk about afterward. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of you guys want to talk about this stuff. So jump down there and let us know your thoughts. Okay, with that stuff down and out of the way, let's now move on to our main topics today. How do we select our main topics? They're really simple. You guys select our main topics by going over to the website www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. When you get to that page, you're going to have a form that you fill out, hit submit, and maybe, just maybe, you'll see your topic or question pop up here on The John Campea Show. So with that down and out of the way, Ashley, what is our first email today?
First one up is from Tara B. One of my favorite comedies of the last few years was Girls Trip. I laughed so hard no matter how many times I see it, and now I can honestly say my most anticipated movie this year, even more than Lion King or Avengers or Star Wars, is Little. Do you guys think this could be as big of a surprise hit as Girls Trip was? What are your expectations going in?
I'll tell you what, I am with you on that about Girls Trip. Girls Trip was one of the most pleasant surprised comedies I've ever seen, in the sense that I had no expectations for it. It looked like another little cheap throwaway comedy. It was made for like $20 million. There wasn't gonna be anything to it. Maybe get a couple of laughs, and that's all I was hoping for. Just give me a couple of laughs out of this thing. Girls Trip floored me. I laughed myself sick almost that entire movie. So now you have the same producer, same production company, and one or two of the same cast coming back to make this Little, which is basically the reverse of Tom Hanks's Big, which sounds interesting. But I'll tell you what, Rob, the trailers for Little have made me giddy. I've been nothing short of giddy for this movie after watching the trailers for it. And one of the coolest things that you and I found out at CinemaCon was the little girl who plays the younger version of Regina Hall. The little girl, when I think she was 12 years old.
10. She was 10.
When she was 10, she's the one who pitched the idea of the movie to the producer.
Yep.
And she got an executive producer credit on this movie. They say the youngest person in Hollywood right now with an executive producer credit on a movie. And to kick all that off, they gave the kid a first look deal at Universal Studios. So they gave this little girl a first look. She's an executive producer on this. She's got a first look deal at Universal Studios. And as we're sitting there, Rob, in this auditorium, and they're talking about that, and they mentioned she's the producer, she's got this deal, I wanted to look at you and say, I mean, damn, you and me are going to go eat dinner at Chili's later, and this 13-year-old girl's got a first look deal at Universal Studios. What the hell are we doing wrong? But anyway, I think this movie looks hilarious. I cannot wait to see this thing. I think it does carry the potential, because remember, Girls Trip was a $20 million movie, then made over $150 million, or around $150 million. That's supremely profitable for a movie that cheap. And I do expect that this movie can repeat that. Now, I'm actually going to go see Little tonight, if I can get out of the house. I'm actually going to go see Little tonight. I've got a screening for it later tonight. I'm so excited for it. Anyway, Rob, what's your impressions been for, and what are you expecting out of Little?
Well, we saw an extended clip of it at the presentation. And
yes, we did.
They brought the cast out. And I'm with you. I thought this movie looked hilarious. And she's the girl. I don't know her name.
I can't remember her name either.
She's 14 years old now. And she is front and center in this thing. I mean, not since maybe Tatum O'Neal in Paper Moon back in the 70s have we seen a young actress deliver. She looks to be one heck of a comic performer. I mean, even at 14, because it's not like Big, she's actually playing a grown woman in a 14-year-old's body. Yeah. And dude, she crushes it. And Issa Rae, the whole thing was hilarious to me. And I'm like, it's a variation on a theme with Shazam. In theaters, we've got another version of a young kid as an adult, but this is a young kid. This is a young kid, an adult in a young kid's body, and the timing, the performances, the lines, the situations. This looks like to be one of the great. I mean, maybe I'm overselling it, but man, it looked like a great comedy. Really, I love situational humor. That's my favorite kind of humor. And this has this obviously irresistible log line of a situation, but to see it reversed where the kid has to play the adult, that could get hard. That could not. But it looks like they nailed this. And I was just chuckling with delight watching the trailer at CinemaCon, the extended clip.
You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of Umbrella Academy with Seven. Like, one of the most impressive things to me about Umbrella Academy is this little kid, this dude, this young guy, playing like a 70-year-old man, and he completely convinces me, that whole movie, that yes, that is a 70-year-old man in that little kid's body. I never doubt it. And she brings to Little a little bit of that same feeling. Now, granted, we only have a small sample size from the clips and trailers, but it looks like she brings that same sort of thing. I never doubt that this is a mid-40s-year-old woman trapped in a young girl's body. I never doubt it for a second.
And the rest of the cast is hilarious too.
Yeah, they look great.
It also looks like they've been given a great script to work with. It really looks like it's just zippy, punchy, hilarious fun.
Ashley, you've had a chance to see, the spots and trailers. You got any expectations going into Little? What are you looking forward to in this?
I think it's going to be great. I'm actually wanted to go back though. I'm curious, how did she get in the position where she was 10 years old pitching this idea to executives?
That's what I was asking myself.
I have no idea. My only guess is I'm wondering if she was an extra or played a small bit role as a child on one of the guy's films and just approached him afterwards and say, I've got an idea. I got a feeling her parents just showed her Big for the first time or something and then went to the producer. But that's a really good question. How did she get that meeting with the producer? She's got to be, I mean, she's got to know somebody, right?
She's also clearly an extraordinary kid. She's really smart too.
That's cool. Yeah, it's gonna be great. Sometimes I have problems with like precocious kids or like kids acting like little know-it-alls, but I feel like this is totally a different scenario and it's gonna be hilarious.
All right.
It's hilarious.
With that down and out of the way, Ashley, what's our next main topic today?
Next one up is from Phil. So, Shazam had an opening weekend of $53.4 million domestic, better than Warner Brothers' conservative estimate of $45 million, but still a missed opportunity. In my opinion, having advanced screenings 2 weeks early is the biggest culprit. It shouldn't have happened. It largely undermined our anticipation for opening weekend. I haven't gone yet, where people want to feel that buzz of seeing something new with all levels of fandom. Do you see continued justification for advanced screenings?
All right, thanks a lot for the message, Phil. And I got to tell you, dude, I 100% disagree with you. I 100% disagree with you on this. I do not believe at all that those advanced screenings they did for Captain Marvel, or for Shazam, I should say, a couple of weeks ago, hurt Shazam. If anything, it helped it, because what did you get coming out of that? You got huge positive buzz, massive amounts of positive buzz. That always helps. That never hurts. Now remember, they were projecting $45 million for this thing opening. They do the advanced screenings. It jumps up a certain amount of percentage to 53%. Now, look, I said from the beginning, this movie will make more than 45. I honestly thought it would make more than 53 as well. It certainly deserves to make more than 53, no doubt. But no, that did not hurt it in the least. Them doing these advanced screenings did not hurt it in the least. They did the exact same thing with Aquaman. That film ended up making over $1 billion. So having a film you're confident in, putting it out so it's not just critics raving about it, but you got a good sample size of the audience out there buzzing about the movie, saying how much they love the movie, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. It just does nothing but create momentum and help. It certainly helped Aquaman, and I think it clearly helps Shazam here as well. And I don't think I don't think there's a lot of people going, oh, I had an enthusiasm for opening weekend. I don't know that represents, honestly, a good chunk of the average movie going on. So I don't think they care that much about it. So, but it does raise the question. A movie that is so well received critically, I think it's got like a 92, 93% on Rotten Tomatoes. The fans, at least from what I've been hearing from everybody, love the film, some more than others, but I've yet to get a message from anybody, well, except for one person. I've heard from one person that didn't really like the film. We'll talk about that in a second. But all of you that I've heard from have, have been overwhelmingly positive about the film. So it does raise the question, well, then why didn't Shazam do a little bit better? You know, it's following up on a big success for DC with Aquaman. The trailers have looked fantastic. The buzz, the reviews have been excellent. The buzz has been positive. So and by the way, for a lot of films, $53 million is great. And also, by the way, in its opening weekend, this movie's already made well over its production budget. So this movie is well on its way to being profitable. Don't worry about that. But it does raise the question, why didn't it do better? Why didn't it make more? Rob, I want to propose a couple of possibilities here. Possibility number one. People didn't like Aquaman as much as maybe we think they did. I mean, now I'm not saying this is the reason, I'm just throwing this out, this is a possibility. Because, if people really loved Aquaman, well then, when the next big DCU movie comes out, why did so few, now I didn't expect every single one of them to go out and see Shazam, but why did so few of them come out to check out Shazam? Like if they really had a good time with that one, why didn't more come out and support the other? Could it be that maybe people didn't like Aquaman as much as we think they did? I'm not saying that's the reason. I'm just proposing that as a possibility. Because I'll tell you right now, this movie is better than Aquaman. And you and I can debate that in a minute. So that's one possibility. A second possibility, of course, is, look, Aquaman has never been considered one of the major superheroes. But everybody has heard of Aquaman, right? Shazam? Not so much. I think there are a lot of people who've never even heard of Shazam, don't even know who he is. That's a possibility. I think a third possibility here is something you and I, Rob, talked about when we were in Vegas, which is, I mean, look, the Avengers Endgame tickets going on sale completely dominated the news cycle. And it completely overshadowed the fact that this weekend Shazam opens up. Because all anybody was talking about, understandably, was the Avengers Endgame tickets going on sale, and that's all everybody was talking about, and you almost would forget that Shazam was even opening this weekend. And then you throw in a little side dash onto that. It's like maybe everybody spent all their movie ticket money that week on the Avengers Endgame advance ticket sales. I'm not saying that's the reason. I'm just throwing that out there. So there's three possibilities. Maybe people didn't like Aquaman as much as we thought. Number two, we underestimated just how obscure the Shazam character is, maybe to a large group of the audience. Maybe, I don't know. Number three, maybe it was just the total dominance of the news cycle by the Endgame tickets going on sale. And I don't want us to lose fact that $53 million is a pretty decent opening for a lot of movies, Rob, including a movie that only had a $90 million budget. So that's not bad. So let's not pretend that Shazam came out of the gate and fell on its face. It's just that for a movie that to me is this good, and regardless of whether you think the movie's good or not, it had huge audience buzz. It had big buzz from the critics. It looked great. Rob, whether it's some of my theories or maybe you have some of your own, while Shazam did fine, why didn't it do better? What do you think?
Because it's not that good.
That's irrelevant. No. Throw that out the window, Rob. Throw that out the window. Number one, it is that good. But take that out for a second. No. Nobody knows whether it's that good until they pay their money and buy a ticket to go see the movie. It's all about the buzz, and the buzz, you cannot deny, has been overwhelmingly positive. The reviews have been overwhelmingly positive. The previews have been overwhelmingly great. We've all loved the previews. So
nope. Only an hour little movie.
You love the previews. You love the previews.
I did, and I have to tell you, that's why the movie to me was really disappointing, because it did not live up to those previews.
It absolutely did. It absolutely did.
I'll tell you why. When I was watching this movie, and I'll give you an example. You've already done a spoiler review, but I'm just going to say non-spoiler.
I couldn't do my spoiler review because I had no voice.
They establish our character, young Billy Batson, as being...
Let's not go into a review of the film. I just want to know, why didn't the movie... why right now did the movie not do better?
I don't judge a movie. You can't judge a movie based on other movies. You can't equate this movie to Aquaman, because it's not Aquaman. You can't say, look, Shazam was on the big screen in the 40s in one of my favorite serials of all time, The Adventures of Captain Marvel. I know, look it up. You can get it on Blu-ray. It's great. I've loved this character. I grew up with this character. I love the comics growing up. I love watching the Saturday morning TV show growing up. I was really looking forward to this movie. And until a third act twist that I found incredibly delightful, I did not know it was coming. I should have seen it coming as a longtime Shazam fan or Captain Marvel fan. I found it utterly delightful, and I was enchanted by it. But the first two acts of this movie never, to me, lived up to what I was hoping the movie would be. I didn't think it was as smart as it should have been. It certainly wasn't as satisfying as, say, Big was. And I think that the audience that I saw it with, packed audience on a Friday night, was not very whelmed by it. There was a smattering of applause. There wasn't a lot of applause. But I think people walked out of there. Some people loved it. And I don't take that away from everybody, but I think the general audiences were underwhelmed. Although it did get an A cinema score, and I think that I think I don't, again, you might be right. You might be right about Aquaman. I mean, it's going to be interesting because we have another comic book movie in Hellboy opening Friday. They released that great gore trailer that was kind of amusing to watch. But I just think that these movies, I mean, when they're delivering the kind of entertainments, if these movies aren't truly great, and I know you think it's great, but I thought it was small. I mean, it didn't give me what I wanted. It did not fulfill my wishes. If I had become a superhero, I did not see that ultimate wish fulfillment in Shazam. And I think that's what it failed to do for audiences.
Well, now you and I obviously completely disagree on this topic, because I thought the movie was magnificent. But again, let me bring it back to this. You bought your tickets to this movie not knowing whether or not you liked the movie or not, because you hadn't seen it yet. So I reject this notion that some people have about different movies about, well, this movie didn't do good opening weekend because it wasn't good. Well, wait a minute, time out. People didn't know whether it was good or not until they went to the movie to see it, but it didn't get people interested in going to see it. Rob, you and I have been doing the show now, and ever since the preview screenings, we've had people writing in on this show saying, saw Shazam, loved it, saw Shazam, loved it, blah, blah, blah. The audience, there was clearly big positive buzz. The critics are over 90% on this movie. Right, so understanding that nobody knew whether or not they were going to like the movie, why did more people not go and give this movie a chance to find out whether they liked it or not? Because clearly it inspired you to buy your tickets for opening night, so you went to go see it opening night. Why did it not get more people out? What was it about the marketing or the buildup or the circumstances or whatever that prevented more people from taking that chance on it on its opening weekend to find out if they liked it? What do you think one of those
Well, I think they did everything
was?
right. I think they did everything right. There's nothing with the marketing of this movie that they did wrong. They did everything right. And
I agree.
All the people that went and saw that preview screening were us. It's us. It's our audience. It's you and I. I mean, I didn't go. You invited me, but I couldn't go. But it's us. We were the people that turned out for that preview screening, and it's in the movie pundit space. Everybody liked it. All the people that are vocal online. I just don't think it would have.
Wait, Rob, do you mean all those online pundits that are paid off to say that they hate DC? Are those the guys you're talking about?
You know that.
Just want to be clear.
That's. I keep waiting, John. I keep waiting for my check. I go to my mailbox every day, and I wait for my Marvel check. I wait for my Disney check. I wait for my. Even when we talk about how Man of Steel is so good, I'm like, where's my residual check for talking about Man of Steel 6 years after the fact? Which I will still say to this day, I love Man of Steel.
Still my number one favorite DCU film. Still my number one.
I just think this movie didn't deliver on its promise.
But again, Rob, that's irrelevant as to why people would buy. You had no idea whether it delivered on its promise until you bought your ticket and saw it.
Right, but
so my
I don't
question
think
is
the momentum of the word of mouth.
Look, the word of mouth has been overwhelmingly positive. The word of mouth has been extremely positive. So understanding that, now I can understand going into week number 2, right?
That's
then going into week number 2. Yeah, going into week number 2, then you can say the movie was underwhelming and that's why it took an X percentage drop. Then I can understand that. That does not apply to opening weekend because all the buzz has been positive. Like you said, the trailers did everything perfectly. You cannot say the movie underwhelmed, which I disagree with, but that's your position. You can't say the movie underwhelmed and therefore that's why people went, because people didn't know it underwhelmed. They didn't know. All they heard was all the critics saying it was great. All they heard was all this fan response from the preview screenings that they did 2 weeks early, and tens of thousands of people across the country went out to it and they just heard these overwhelmingly positive things. So take this thing about you were underwhelmed by the movie out of it. I want to know, why do you think then, in the presence of overwhelmingly positive buzz, in the presence of a great marketing campaign that we agree on, in the presence of overwhelmingly positive critic reviews, a super high Rotten Tomatoes score, an A cinema score, everything you need, all the ingredients for a recipe for a big opening weekend, why didn't people go see it?
I'll give you another theory.
Because I have a couple of theories, but I don't know if they pan out or not.
I have another theory. Okay, look what we got coming out. We got Game of Thrones coming out, right?
Yeah.
We got Endgame coming out. You had Killing Eve dropped, which is this movie, and this is going to seem a little strange, is not cool. Game of Thrones is cool. Endgame is cool. Yeah. Killing Eve is cool. This movie is like, and it felt to me when I watched it, it's a kid's movie. Mm-hmm. It's the kids' version of what has become cool. Even Aquaman was way cooler. So if you're the general audience and you're not as dialed into movie reviews and you're not as dialed in as the pundit space, do you want to go see this movie? Is this movie cool for you, or is it a movie that's more for kids? I think I think they might not have gone because even they, like, we loved it because we're susceptible to this kind of thing. But if you're a gun-toting, pickup truck driving, beer swilling American, I want to watch Captain America go kick Thanos' ass. But do I want to watch this bubblegum chewing big kid in a red suit, the big red cheese? Do I want to watch that guy? Maybe not. Maybe not.
Sign me up. I'll go watch it 20 more times. But, I mean, you do raise a point. Like, my whole thought was the Endgame ticket sales, the fact that Game of Thrones is very dominant in the news cycle right now and stuff like that. I don't know that Hellboy is getting a lot of attention, but, I mean, there is a lot of stuff vying for that attention. There was even a point, Rob, that you and I thought there was a possibility, about a month or so ago that, hey, man, we think that maybe even Shazam might have a bigger opening weekend than Captain Marvel. And
I thought
that was until
that. I did.
That was until we saw that Captain Marvel had a $150 million opening. Then it was like, well, no, Shazam is not going to beat a $150 million opening. But yeah, I gotta say, I am surprised. I wasn't expecting a $100 million opening for Shazam. I wasn't expecting that, but with the positive buzz, the high critic scores, the great marketing campaign, I gotta admit, I'm surprised that, pardon me, that it came in as low as 53, which again is fine for most movies and is totally fine for a movie that cost $90 million to make.
Yeah.
I thought it deserved more. But anyway, what do you guys think? A lot of you guys had a chance to check out Shazam. Jump into the comments section below and let us know what you thought about it and give us your opinions about what caused people to not want to take a chance. Was it the Endgame stuff with all the attention on that? Was it Game of Thrones stuff, the attention on that? Was it just, it didn't look like something that would be cool for us? Jump down there and let us know your thoughts. All right, with that down and out of the way, Ashley, what is our next main topic today?
Next up is from Adnan Ramuni. Dwayne Johnson recently went on his Instagram to thank people for Shazam's weekend box office and teased that Black Adam could be shooting next year. Should we take his word seriously, or is he just doing what he does best and hyping up the crowd? Thanks.
Okay, wow. The Rock or somebody from DC or some producer saying, we're going to be shooting the Black Adam movie anytime now. Really? Surprise, surprise. As if we haven't seen this song and dance a million times before. Okay, so for those of you who don't know what he's talking about, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson got on his Instagram. Now, I got to say this too. I'm a huge fan of Dwayne "The Rock." Everybody knows this. I'm a massive fan of The Rock. I love The Rock. But he put up this Instagram video that I got to say was a little off-putting. and I'm a big fan of Dwayne Johnson. Everybody knows this. I love me The Rock.
You do.
But I will admit, this video he put up was a little off-putting because basically he was taking credit for everything about Shazam. Like, he was like, I'm the producer on this, and I said we need to do the movie this way, and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, he spent the first 2 minutes of this 3 or 4 minute video just basically taking credit for Shazam and thanking the audience for coming out and checking it out and blah, 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 blah. And I found that a little bit off-putting. But that aside, one of the things The Rock then did say was that, it was really important, we felt, like you have these two big characters, Shazam, Black Adam, they couldn't tell their two origin stories in one movie, which I agree. If you wanted Black Adam to be a significant character in this universe. So the key thing that he said, Rob, in this was he said, so I've been living, breathing this character for the past number of years, and we should be shooting it within the year. Okay, they should be shooting it within the year. We've heard this before. Rob, let me ask you, is there any reason we should believe Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson now when he says, we're going to be shooting this movie within the year? Are they actually, because they announced this guy as Black Adam at CinemaCon 5 years ago. We're still sitting here with no Black Adam. Do you think they're actually going to follow through this time?
Well, first of all, let me say, I loved Zachary Levi playing Shazam.
Oh, I agree.
And I loved what happened at the end of Shazam as a longtime fan.
Me too.
And I walked out, as much as I might have felt disappointment by Shazam, I left the theater having had a good time. I just had high expectations. What it did leave me with was a sense of, oh, now you've already laid the groundwork for a Black Adam movie. Everybody would now understand. You've done the heavy lifting that if they kept talking about, I'm like, how can you make a Black Adam movie first? Now I'm entirely convinced.
That was odd.
Yeah, now I'm entirely convinced. They announce a Black Adam movie, especially if Hobbs and Shaw becomes a billion-dollar grosser. Dwayne, with Rampage and Skyscraper, those didn't do as well as maybe they'd hoped. Jumanji is coming out, Jumanji 2, coming off the heels of a hugely successful first Jumanji. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, his star is not diminished in the least. Yeah. And I think I am giddy at the prospect of seeing The Rock as Black Adam coming out of this movie. And even more so now than ever before, because there's a fight brewing that I want to see.
and we don't want to spoil anything, but there is a place in Shazam that you could argue they tease Black Adam a little bit. So we're not going to give any details.
Yeah, and you know what? Maybe he's like, in a way, it's like if you watch the old Speed Racer comics, Speed Racer never knows that Racer X is his long-lost brother, Rex Racer. And if, they play it like Black Adam was Shazam before Shazam was Shazam, he's the prodigal son, he's the older brother who returns to wreak havoc. I mean, there's something really interesting there. And I think they've definitely done the groundwork. And I think if they announce a Black Adam movie now, the response is going to be huge. So I think, depending on the worldwide box office, and especially the box office the second week of Shazam, look, again, as much as I might personally not have liked Shazam, I think there was a lot to love there. But it made me want to see a Black Adam movie, and I want to see Black Adam take on Shazam. I think that could be really great.
And I think you just touched on a couple reasons why I think this time maybe we can believe them. Because Shazam has come out, exceeded what their projections were, although, underperformed from what I thought it could have made, but still exceeded what their projections were. They've gotten the response they've wanted from audiences, and I think you're right. Now, I still feel, though, like, if they don't go into production on this thing for another year, that means it's going to be minimum 2 years till we get Black Adam, then however long we get to see Shazam again. But I think for all the reasons you pointed out and others, Rob, I think this time when they say we're doing Black Adam, I actually believe them this time. I actually believe them.
They've really explained. Everyone's going to understand the origin of Black Adam. You don't have to tell an origin story, not a big full-blown origin story. You get where he came from now. So if he shows up, he gives a few lines of dialogue, he explains his backstory, you're good to go. You're off to the races. So you don't need, this could be the Dark Knight of the Shazam franchise. If Shazam is Batman Begins, a Black Adam movie could be the Dark Knight of Shazam movies.
All right.
Looking forward to that.
Okay, Ashley, let's move on to the next topic today. What's our next topic?
Next up is from Jessica C. Hey, John, Robert, and Ashley. So, Pet Sematary opened to $25 million, which has me wondering, why did it make so much less than it? Did Shazam impact its numbers, or did audiences just not care enough about the movie itself? Thanks.
Because I looked at the numbers, Jessica, and yeah, it looked like it made about 25 mil opening weekend, which I gotta tell you is lower than what I thought. Now, it's a little unfair to compare it to it, because it was the highest grossing opening weekend box office for horror in the history of the genre. So that's a little bit of an unfair comparison. But still, look, it's a little bit like the Shazam situation. The buzz about this movie was very good. The critics really liked it. The trailers were great. And yet, at 25 million, just in the last 2 years, look at all these other horror films that beat Pet Sematary's opening weekend. A Quiet Place had 50.2 million opening. Halloween had a 76.2 million opening. The Nun, which was terrible, made 53.8 million. It, obviously the number one, it came in with 123.4 million. Get Out made 33.3 million. Split made 40 million. Annabelle Creation made 35 million. Us made 71.1 million. Rob, there's a big list of movies that have come out, horror movies come out just in the last couple of years, that all outperformed Sematary, when on its surface you would think Sematary would at least be a little bit middling in there. The trailers look creepy as hell. You had a great cast. It's rolling on this Stephen King-assance that's going on, all that kind of stuff. So I guess it's kind of like the same question we had with Shazam. Understanding all the things that this thing seemed to have going for it, what are some possibilities, what are some theories you may have about why going into opening weekend, some audience members decided, I'm not going to take a chance on that? What do you think held it back?
Well, I think, if I go back to, first of all, there's a Pet Sematary movie that a lot of people grew up with, so they know the story.
Yeah.
This is not, I would say that Pet Sematary, compared to, say, It, you've got a killer clown. It's fun. This is a movie about dead kids and dead pets coming back to life. this is what I would call lurid subject matter, and it is not the fun factor in this. This is true horror. This is not mass consumption horror. This is get under your skin and go to places we don't even want to talk about. And Stephen King always said when he wrote this book, this was the scariest book he ever wrote. And indeed, when the book came out in 82, I read it the day it came out. It was, in fact, the scariest book I ever read. But it was deeply, deeply unsettling to read. Even as a kid, I was like, oh my God. And I just think that audiences were aware. I think they might have been, dare I say it, a little scared of this movie. Unlike Annabelle, that Annabelle's going to be fun. You know that Pennywise is going to be fun. You're not going to, you walk out of Pennywise, you survive Pennywise. It's like, yeah. But when kids are dying and coming back from the dead, that gets a little sketchy. That's like, if I was like, say, a 14-year-old girl, which is where the horror market, the teenage female market has become very important to horror in the last 2 decades.
Yes.
If I'm a teenage girl and I know that I'm going to see a movie where a kid dies and comes back from the dead and it's going to be played seriously, I might give hell, as a middle-aged man, I'm like, do I want to see a kid die? I do, but I mean, I want to see a kid come back from the dead. But I don't know if that's something everybody wants to go see, but I've heard nothing but great things about this movie. So I'm dying to see it. I didn't see it this weekend. I'm a fan of Mary Lambert's original. I love the book. I can't wait to see this movie. But I think this is we're getting a lot of what I would call faux horror or fun horror. It's not the Clive Barker deeply disturbing horror. It's jump scare horror and fun horror. It's amusement park horror. This is not that.
I think you raise a great point about that too, because I think you're absolutely right. When you look at the big successful ones, you look at it, there's a fun factor to that. As creepy and scary as the clown is, it's the clown, right? And it's got some of that too. When you look at some of these other films, there's a little bit of that. As even A Quiet Place, like it's the premise that everybody's got to stay quiet. What's the premise of Pet Sematary? Bury a corpse, it'll come back soulless. That's your premise.
That's a great way. Well put, by the way. Nice.
And every once in a while I'll come up with one. But it seems like that is. I think you're absolutely right, Rob. I think you nailed it. It's the heaviness of it that I think appealed to some and didn't appeal to a lot. Whether it's the female audience or the middle-aged guy who doesn't really want to see, oh my God, that scene when Jason is combing his daughter's hair in the bath and he's feeling something and he pulls her hair apart and it's got the coroner's staples in the back of her skull. Oh my God. I mean, that was creepy as hell.
I think you just may have coined a phrase that I would like to start using, which is heavy horror. I've never heard that before. I've heard splatterpunk, slasher, whatever. Heavy horror is a way to delineate. Like I would call something like The Witch, which I adored. The Witch is heavy horror. Hereditary is heavy horror. And I think that Pet
Paranormal
Sematary
Activity is fun horror.
Is fun. Yes, we got to come up with a better word than fun. What is the opposite of heavy? I don't like light horror.
Yeah.
But heavy
Whimsical horror. Whimsical horror. No, that's even worse. We'll come up with something.
But heavy horror, I think that, and look, I loved Hereditary, but another movie where, let's just say, kids don't fare well. And I think that's a lot of people like their horror at arm's length, but heavy horror gets into your psyche, burrows into your mind, and really disturbs.
All right, guys, what do you think? Why do you think more people didn't go out to give this movie Pet Sematary? And by the way, $25 million for a film like this is pretty good. And one of the things I didn't mention, Rob, you mentioned that there was an original movie. I didn't like the original movie. And I think maybe there are a bunch of people that didn't like the original movie. Maybe that kept them away from it too. So that's a possibility. But guys, what do you think? Jump down in the comment section and let us know your thoughts. All right, let's move on now to the final main topic today. Ashley, what's our final main topic today?
All right, last one up, you guys, is from Patreon supporter Jeff Bingham. It was just announced that Will Ferrell and Adam McKay will be ending their relationship as creative collaborators. While I myself was never the biggest Will Ferrell fan, his best movies have often been when Adam McKay was at the helm, as he's gotten the best out of his star. Without Adam McKay, we've gotten movies like The House and Holmes and Watson. You are bigger Will Ferrell fans than me. So how do you feel about this news?
Surprised. I was surprised, Rob, straight up to hear this news, because it's not just them working as director and star collaborators. They've had their own production company, the Gary Sanchez production company, and they have produced a lot of stuff together on top of that. But you raise a great point. Will Ferrell's, in my opinion, Will Ferrell's best movies were the movies that Adam McKay collaborated with him on and directed. Because you're talking about movies like Anchorman, which is, everybody loves Anchorman. You're talking about Talladega Nights. You're talking about my favorite Will Ferrell movie, Step Brothers. I can watch that movie every day for the rest of my life and never not laugh at it. I love Step Brothers. You're talking about The Other Guys. I'm not big on The Other Guys, but a lot of people love The Other Guys. There are a lot of people who like that movie. And when you're talking about the best Will Ferrell's been the Will Ferrell that we've gotten when he's working with Adam McKay, including a lot of the stuff they've produced together. Now, Adam McKay, Rob, is just, my movie Vice just got nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards. I can start spreading my wings a bit. Holmes and Watson got nominated for Razzies. So that's what that is. So I don't know if this is a situation of, hey, look, these two guys have been working together since their Saturday Night Live days. They started work on Saturday Night Live on the same day together, and they've been working together ever since. So whether this is a situation of, hey, we just been doing this for so long, we want to each try some different things, or whether it's a situation of Adam's like, hey man, I can make Oscar-nominated movies. I want to go off and do some things that aren't Will Ferrell vehicles. Or whether it's that Will's got some more crazy ideas he wants to do on his own, whatever. Now, they did say, hey, we're still best friends. We're still best friends. We just want to try different things creatively. Whether that's true or not, who knows? Kind of reminds me of when a celebrity couples break up and they always release a joint statement saying, we both still deeply love each other. Blah, blah. No, you don't. You hate each other's guts. Just be honest about it. But I don't know if that's the situation here with Will Ferrell and McKay, but it does for me kind of mark a little bit of an end of an era. And I won't lie to you, I was a little bit sad to hear this news. Anyway, Rob, you heard about this breakup. What's your response?
Well, I think you nailed it. I mean, look, Adam McKay, he did his time making those Will Ferrell comedies. He made the best of the Will Ferrell comedies. Yeah. And clearly, I mean, I love The Big Short. I am obsessed with The Big Short. I watched, it's funny, I'm so obsessed with that movie that I watched a YouTube video over the weekend analyzing why The Big Short's so good and what it does, how it basically tells the story of all of these unlikable characters that actually prey upon Americans to become filthy rich. I love those characters. I don't care. But I think that Adam McKay has now made two movies, The Big Short and Vice, which are head and shoulders above what he was doing with Will Ferrell. Not that those movies are not difficult to make, but if Will Ferrell wanted to keep this relationship going, he too needs to step up. I mean, I would like to see Will Ferrell. I really like Will Ferrell. I want to see like what Jim Carrey did with The Truman Show and the Spotless Mind and other things Jim Carrey's done. Will Ferrell hasn't really done that, and he's sort of, his last movies, The House too, and The House and Holmes and Watson. I mean, he hasn't been doing Adam McKay any favors, and if they have a production company together, when Will Ferrell is making bad films, it's damaging Adam McKay's ability to have this production company it diminishes him as well. So, you got it. When your star is on the rise, sometimes you just have to blow your ballast tanks and move on.
Ashley, you heard about this. Now, these are collaborators that have been working together for a long time. And obviously, we talked about how good The Big Short is. Vice gets an Academy Award nomination. How much do you think Adam McKay's success outside of the Will Ferrell comedies maybe has to play with this professional breakup?
Well, I think it has everything to do with the breakup. At first I was like, well, if he's making these amazing movies like The Big Short and Vice within the partnership, why are they breaking up if he still can do that? But Rob, you just made a great point that, if Will is not pulling his weight, then it's bad for their production company,
right?
And he won't be able to continue making Oscar-winning films if someone's like weighing him down. I think it just makes it look like, pretty bad for Will Ferrell. It's just like, clearly, I feel like Adam McKay is the one ending the relationship. I mean, I don't know that, but it looks to me like that.
Yeah. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
what's that line from Seinfeld when they're talking about their breakups when Elaine was like, the breaker upper is the winner. The one who gets broken up with is the loser, and to the winner goes the spoils. That's one of my favorite Seinfeld lines of all time. All right, guys, what do you think about their breakup? Jump on down and let us know your thoughts. Okay, guys, with all of our main topics now out of the way, we're going to take some time, as we like to do here on the John Campea Show, and take some live questions. You guys have already been filing in a whole bunch of them. So, Ashley, let's get things started. What's being asked in the live chat board today?
Okay, the first one up is from Chandrasek. Natasha says Thanos used the stones again. Why?
That's a good question. You see, in the clip they showed us at CinemaCon was actually a little bit longer than the one they just released on YouTube. Yeah. At least on the front end. There was just a little bit on the front end of that. They started the YouTube clip a little bit later than the one we saw. And in the one we saw, basically Rocket Raccoon spells out, hey guys, the power signature that Thanos gave off when he used the gauntlet, we just found a similar power signature somewhere else in the galaxy. And that's when she says, at the beginning of the clip that's now on YouTube, saying Thanos used the stones again. So that's where we pick it up. Was there anything else I'm forgetting about, Rob?
No, I mean that, and they Rocket also says no one's ever seen this kind of power unleashed ever anywhere. And right. I got the impression, at least in my mind, that Thanos was able to open up that doorway. He was able to use, and he got back, so it had to have opened up where he wound up. So maybe that was the last time the stones could be used. That was the last energies that allowed him to escape and get to the garden, wherever that is, whether it's on Titan, which I didn't see. It's a different planet. We saw that there were two different planets in that holographic Return of the Jedi graphic. And but yeah, I that's what I got from it.
I just had a theory. What if that big power signature that they read was Thanos using the gauntlet to destroy the Infinity Stones so that what he did could never be undone?
That's pretty good, dude.
There's a thought. That. What do you guys think? Okay, Ashley, what's next?
I love how we keep saying, like, oh, we don't need to speculate anymore. We just want to see the movie. But then every time something comes out, we want to speculate more. All right. Next one up is from Vinder S. This is a three-parter. So UK sites also crashed on April 2nd when I did connect. My Visa card got declined. Then I tried my wife's card, and that too got declined. We both got messages on our phones saying fraudulent activity detected. Bank phones me to ask if that was me doing the transaction. I said, of course that was me. Reactivated the card and payment went through, only to discover that in my frenzied panic, I ordered 3D. Tickets were non-exchangeable or refundable, so I had to buy another set of tickets for 2D because no way I'm watching Endgame in 3D. So 8 tickets, it cost me €275, $350. Oops.
Just more stories of the nightmares that people had. And, and first of all, Vinder, thanks for sending in those super chats, man. That was very generous. Thank you for supporting the channel, dude. I had to withhold myself from ranting as much as I wanted to. Now, granted, it is first world problems, but this is a show about the movie industry, so I get to rant about issues in the movie world, Rob. I cannot believe the incompetence of a lot of these theater chains, ticketing outlets, all that kind of stuff. This is... Now, was the Endgame ticket rush huge? Maybe unlike anything we've ever seen before. Yes. But we've had this happen no less than 3 other times in just the last few years. With The Force Awakens, with Infinity War, with The Last Jedi, where ticket sites crashed and had problems and blah, blah. You knew what was coming, and you had plenty of time to prepare for it. You knew the onslaught that was coming, and they still, like a bunch of boobs, completely dropped the ball. And it caused a lot of nightmares for people. Now, again, let me re-acknowledge here. End of the day, first world problems. But we are talking in the sphere of movie fandom and the movie industry. And this is a big deal within that sphere. Within that sphere, that was a big deal. Because it caused a lot of people who were sitting, like literally, there's some people who are sitting there for 5, 6, 7 hours in a digital line, only then to have the digital line cancel. A lot of people finally get through and try to buy their tickets only to say, cannot complete your process. I got so many emails, Rob, from people who say, I was in a digital line for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hours. got to the front of the line, ordered my tickets, hit purchase, and it said your transaction cannot be completed. And then they had to get back in the digital line again. And it caused other problems, like Vrinder is talking about here, man. It caused other problems where then there's banking issues and all the time. How does something like this happen, Rob? How does something like this still happen today when we've had this happen 3 other times already? What's their excuse?
John, I think it speaks to a larger issue. I think that we have become, as a society, complacent about these things. I mean, what if this was our early warning system and you had Russia or China sweeping across the Arctic, to come to invade America a la Red Dawn style, and they'd overwhelmed. I mean, Russia used our infrastructure to mess with our election in 2016. We gave them the opportunity, and no one seems to be fixing these problems. And I think that our infrastructure, we need smart, capable people paying more attention. This might be a first world problem, but like you said, it affected the banking system. People were told that their bank cards there was fraudulent activity when there wasn't. I mean, there's a whole cascading effect to this. This is just a small microcosm of, I think, a much larger problem, and that our entire internet infrastructure is vulnerable. If one movie ticket website can get people's banking systems messed with, how easy would it be for some motivated individual to go in and do this on a much bigger scale where it affected more than just buying movie tickets for Endgame? And it frightens the hell out of me.
Here's just hoping they get this sorted out for the next, whether it's Lion King, episode 9, whatever. I just hope they get all this crap sorted out. Okay, what's next?
Murray Reich. So, John, is Shazam a Christmas movie or not? LOL.
No, Shazam is not a Christmas movie. This is actually a great argument because, a lot of people argue that Die Hard, which is not a Christmas movie, is a Christmas movie because it happens at Christmas time. Well, so does Shazam. Shazam is not a Christmas movie. So, no, it's not a Christmas movie. Rob, is it a Christmas movie?
Well, it does celebrate the spirit of family.
Lots of movies do that.
I tell you what I really loved about this movie. I thought one of its greatest strengths was this whole idea of this foster family of disparate kids.
Yeah,
their ethnic backgrounds are different. None of that mattered. One of the things I really dearly loved about Shazam was the love and respect. This foster family was a functioning foster family full of these kids that cared about one another, and I really thought that aspect of it was terrific. And if Christmas is about family and home and hearth, then there is an element of Christmas in this film, at least the spirit of Christmas. And by the way, what is Shazam if not a big, giant, walking, talking, flying Christmas ornament?
I guess in some ways that's true. Okay, what's next?
I wonder if it would have done better if it came out at Christmas.
Maybe.
Ben Rainer. No spoiling. Love Shazam. Best third act in a while, and watched Big again when I got home. Second favorite DC film.
Yeah, I agree. It is also my second favorite DC film. To me, Man of Steel is still the tops. I still love that one the most, but I had a ridiculously good time at it. I'm glad you did too, Ben, so thanks for sharing. All right, what's next?
Willow Yang. Which actor was best cast for their DC character? Henry Cavill, Ben Affleck, Gal Gadot, Campea, Jason Momoa, or Zachary Levi?
Well, obviously it's not Gal Gadot. Man, it's tough because on
She's
one
great.
hand,
You're crazy.
She is great.
No, she's not. She's
crazy.
Anybody who knows anything knows she's not that good of an actress.
Excuse
period.
me, I know some things, and I think
that's
she's a
why
great
people
actress.
do not put her. That's why she doesn't get roles. Period. That's why she does not get roles. Anyway, we've been having this discussion for years. Okay, I'm tempted to say Ben Affleck because I loved his iteration of Batman and Batman vs. Superman, but I disliked the iteration they made for Justice League, so there's that. I liked Momoa's casting as Aquaman from day one. From day one, I liked it, and I certainly liked him in the movie. I got excited about Zachary Levi's casting because it told us what kind of movie it was going to be by casting him. And so I love that. But I gotta stick with Henry Cavill as Superman. Henry Cavill is still my favorite Superman, which is, I know, sacrilegious to say. You're supposed to say Christopher Reeve. I understand that, and I don't dispute that. If anybody else wants to say that, that's great. But I'm going to go with Henry Cavill. Rob, what about you?
Me too. I loved Henry Cavill's Superman. I loved him as Napoleon Solo and Man from U.N.C.L.E. I love Henry Cavill. I'm a big Henry Cavill fan. I thought he had the physicality. He looked the part. I loved his chiseled jawline. I love his voice. I love his just demeanor. I thought he was a great Superman, and I want to see him again.
All right, what's next?
Best Steve 14. This is one of two. Can you imagine Hawkeye's family dies? Marvel Studio presents everything with Tony in space happens. Before Tony dies, a ship pulls up and someone comes in. Hey, man, my name is Korg. This is Neek. We're heading to Earth. Want to come? Avengers Endgame.
I'm going to say no, although I'd love to see Korg in this movie very, very much. Again, it comes down to the overwhelming coincidence takes me out of a movie. So space is a giant, giant place. Even if Korg was on his way to Earth, the chances that he would just stumble across Tony Stark are 1 in 1,000 trillion. I mean, it's just unfathomable. So unless there was a reason, like he was specifically out looking for Tony Stark or whatever, but for him to just kind of stumble across him, which is the same reason, by the way, Rob, when a lot of people say, I bet you the way Tony Stark gets back to Earth is that Captain Marvel, on her way back to Earth, comes across Tony Stark and brings him with him. It's like, but it's 1 in 1,000 trillion chances because space is so ultimately big. It would throw me up, but I don't know. Do you see a plausible way they could do that?
Well, remember, they are on Titan. So the course,
or they were on Titan.
Yeah, they were. So if you're on your way to Titan and you come across the Benatar or whatever in space, it's on the course to Titan. There's only one place they can go. Although, however, I will say this, it didn't look like this garden planet is Titan. Somewhere else.
No, I agree.
So they're not going back to Titan. They're not, going to the place where Thanos was last. They're going to the place they're going to the place where Thanos was last, wherever this planet is, which isn't Titan. So I think you're right. I don't know how they're going to do it unless there's some kind of a homing beacon, or maybe nobody we know finds Tony Stark, because Tony Stark is not in that scene with the Avengers, even though Nebula is.
Right.
I don't know what's up. I don't know what's up there. And what's interesting, the YouTube thumbnail for that clip on YouTube has Stark and Steve Rogers in the thumbnail.
But I don't think that was Marvel's. I think there's a version of the clip that's up, but it's some other YouTube channel that just took it and put it up on their channel as well. I believe that's the case. I could be mistaken, but I don't think that was Marvel's actually official one. But there have been some other theories that we talked about, Rob. Like some people think, hey, no, Stark came back, but he's in the hospital. He did have this gaping wound in his abdomen that needed proper medical attention.
Sure.
Maybe, or maybe 1,000 other things, some of which you've speculated before. So let's see how that all turns out. All right, what's next?
James Hoffman. Endgame clip seems to support your theory that Avengers and Captain Marvel confront Thanos in their first act of the movie. I think Captain Marvel rescues Tony first.
Yeah, I don't see how that happens unless there's a narrative purpose put into it. Like, I agree. I think the battle with Thanos and Captain Marvel, all that kind of stuff, happens first act of the film. I don't think they would have released a clip of the final 20 minutes of the movie. I don't think they would have released a full scene clip from the final 20 minutes of the movie, so I think it's pretty assured. I don't know about Captain Marvel rescuing Tony. I just don't see a purpose for it. I don't see how that would have come about, but maybe when we see the movie, we'll find out. I don't know, Rob, what do you think?
Again, I don't know. It's all up in the air. I think it's so funny, this speculation about how it's all going to go down, and we're what? This is the 8th of April. I mean, we're what? Less than 3 weeks now.
Yeah.
And we're speculating. I don't know. I don't know. I think you're right, though. I think we're going to see Thanos. Whatever's going to happen in the first third of the movie, the first quarter of the movie, is going to leave all of us going, what are they going to do now? Because we're not going to. That's why they're not showing us anything beyond this, because anything they show us is a spoiler. I read something that maybe Hela comes back. In the comics, Thanos wants to impress Death. And Hela comes back. Who knows? I mean, I think if they showed us anything beyond this, and I don't know, man. I think they're gonna kick his ass, though. I really do, and he's gonna defeat him.
What's next?
Cara Black, thoughts on Ronda and Brock losing their championships last night, which was Ronda's first WWE loss, and the WrestleMania event as a whole.
Didn't watch it. I watched about. I was ill last night, so I watched a little bit of it. I watched like the Shane McMahon versus the Miz match. That was the only match I really watched, and then I just tapped out. Like I've been sick this weekend, and I just kind of tapped out and couldn't watch anymore. So I did not see any of the rest of it. I planned on watching it. I was planning on watching WrestleMania, but I was just out, and I didn't get a chance. So I didn't even know. I mean, the Brock Lesnar losing thing, understandable, because he's going to go over to the UFC. He's going to go back and fight Daniel Cormier, who's the UFC heavyweight champion. They're going to have a fight. Brock Lesnar's going to get his ass destroyed in that fight, but he's going to make a lot of money. He's going to make a lot of money in that fight. So, yeah, unfortunately, I couldn't watch it even though I planned on it. Okay, what's next?
BMC, I think Shazam lifting its embargo almost a month early might have backfired. So much more hype 2 to 3 weeks ago than the week of its release.
I don't know. I don't know that that's true, because if you lift the review embargo, when you traditionally lift review embargoes, it would have been right in the middle of that Avengers Endgame ticket sale fiasco and ticket sale hype and ticket sale momentum. I think it would have got totally lost. I think lifting the review embargo got the word out early. It gave it a window of time in which it was able to have the attention all to itself. So honestly, no, I think if it were to have backfired, then it would have made less than what they were projecting. It made more than what they projected. So I don't know. I mean, it's certainly a possibility, but I don't think so. I think if they release a review embargo the day before, the day of, or the day after that the Avengers tickets went on sale, nobody would have heard any of it. Nobody would have heard the great buzz for the movie, because the whole news cycle was talking about was Avengers, ticket sales, the new trailer that dropped that day. I think it would have been totally lost in the wash. So I actually think the way they did it was probably the more effective way, but who knows? It could have been the opposite. All right, what's next?
All right. John, after 5 hours, you still had a pretty good voice for us to understand you, unlike Bane, who I couldn't understand for the whole damn movie. LOL, hope you feel good.
Thank you so much, man. And listen, we're still joking about Bane. In The Dark Knight Rises, we're still talking about Bane. Mr. Wayne. I mean, it was pretty brutal. And I still remember they took a bunch of us down to this IMAX and showed us the first 10 minutes of The Dark Knight Rises before anybody else. And coming out of it, we were all like, that looked amazing, but none of us understood what the F Bane was saying at all. Like, at all. So then the movie comes out, and you could kind of understand what Bane was saying in the first 10 minutes of the movie, right? The whole airplane heist thing.
To crash your plane.
Yes. And what happened was, people asked, they changed it since that first, where they screened the first 10 minutes for the audience. And Christopher Nolan, the studio, came out and said, no, we didn't change anything. That was a lie. I'll just flat out tell you, Christopher Nolan, Warner Brothers, they were lying. They did change it, because I was there. And a lot of us were there. And what we heard when the movie came out was significantly better, still not perfect, but was significantly better than what they showed us. Because what they showed us, that first time we saw it, nobody understood a single syllable that Bane was saying. Nobody understood a single syllable. You could make out what he was saying in the movie a little bit. So they did indeed change that. And I'm feeling a little bit better, Murray. Thank you. Still not 100%. I'm still under the weather, but, we got to do the show today, so the show must go on.
You sound better than Bane, John.
Well, thank you, Robert. And you think this gives you power over me? Okay. All right, what's next?
Aaron H. I don't think Hawkeye's family gets tested. I think his wife and kids left him after they saw him eat ketchup and eggs.
I agree. I think, look, if there was any justification for his wife and kids to leave that son of a bitch, it's eating ketchup and eggs. And at that point, he freaking deserves it. Okay, what's next?
Cara Black, how do you feel about WBDC replacing Hans Zimmer's Superman theme with John Williams' Superman theme for future DC films going forward?
No, I don't think so. I don't think I like the idea for a couple of reasons. It's, music is also an identifier, Rob. Like, to me, music is a part of the fingerprint of a movie. And I think it's important that, for instance, that they got Hans Zimmer's music to replace one and then the other. Do I like the idea of putting in a few bars of John Williams' theme? Yeah, I'm all for that. Why not? But as a cameo, a musical cameo, if you will, da 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 da, there it is right there.
This is the new La La Land remastered Superman the movie soundtrack. Is the greatest thing. I can't even tell you how much this sounds so good, and I love it. But I do love Hans Zimmer's theme as well.
Yeah.
There's something more emotional and it's from a different. The Hans Zimmer theme comes from the inside, whereas John Williams' theme it comes from outside and wraps around all of you. Whereas there's something about that Man of Steel theme that grows inside your brain. And it's just different.
So good.
It's just different.
And I'll say this: as much as I love the Zimmer theme, if they change Superman's, I'm okay with them going with a new theme too.
Yeah.
Although if it's still the same Superman, just with a different actor, yeah, you can keep the Zimmer theme. But I almost feel like if you're going to change Superman's, maybe it's time to change themes as well. So constantly pay homage to the John Williams score, but this isn't the Christopher Reeve Superman, so you have different music. Anyway, that's totally just kind of the way I feel about it. Okay, what's next?
Daniel Wise, Captain America and Captain Marvel are both people out of time. Could make for some great humor. Steve getting pop culture references that Marvel doesn't.
All right. Yes, and you know what, Ashley, your voice is cracking up a bunch here, so I think we're losing you. Issues. All right. Well, then we're gonna say goodbye to you today, and then we'll have you, of course, back again tomorrow. So sorry for those tech issues, and we'll talk to you later.
Okay, I'll see you tomorrow, guys.
All right. Take care.
I'll miss you.
Bye.
Okay. Let's move on here. We are going on to what is next. Hold on a second. I totally ruined something here. I completely destroyed something. What did I destroy?
Oh, no.
Yes. What did I destroy? Hold on a second. I think this should fix that. I'm not sure. There we go. We got that fixed. Okay. Yay, that part's fixed. And for whatever reason, I lost me. I got to bring that back. Okay, let's try this again. And I think I'm back now. Yes, our shots are back. Okay, let me reread that last question. Daniel Wise writes, Captain America and Captain Marvel are both people out of time. Could make for some great humor. Steve getting pop culture references that Captain Marvel doesn't. I hadn't really thought about that, Rob. A lot of times when we've been talking about, possible banter between Cap and Captain America and Captain Marvel, it's been over their military service. But I guess the whole notion about them being out of time could be another one. Now, one is significantly more out of time than the other. Captain America is significantly more out of time. But do you see possibilities there?
Maybe. I mean, I don't know if there's going to be time to joke in Endgame. I don't see when someone holds up Nick Fury's pager, they're going to make a "call me maybe" joke. I just don't see that happening. But they could. Captain Marvel's like, I don't get it. But one never knows.
One never knows.
But there might be a fun pop culture reference between the two of them. I could see that. That could be funny. But remember, Steve Rogers hasn't been around that long either. So there's only basically from 2009 to the present they can make jokes.
He's been around, and he's been scratching off his checklist of all the things he's had to see, right? So he's been around for a little bit. All right. Next one comes to us from Joe Byram, who writes, did you catch this in Ultron? Tony says, we can talk about this, then fires his weapon and says, good talk. Then camera shows all the people laying on the ground, and you hear one person say, no, it wasn't. I don't know if I remember that one. Do you recall that scene, Rob?
Mm-mm.
That sounds like something that would come out of one of their movies, though. Good talk. No, it wasn't. That does sound like I did not. That's a nice catch, Joe. I'm gonna have to go back and check that out because that sounds really funny. All right. Next one comes to us from Bennett Hardy, who writes, one of two. Come to think, some think Endgame is a normal movie, but not us. I'm turning 15 soon. The MCU has a part in my childhood. This kind of feels like it's coming to an end. Flying out, seeing at a Chinese theater Thursday IMAX for my birthday. Wow, Bennett. I don't know who got you that for your birthday, but that is pretty damn sweet. And I can only imagine, Rob, it's hard for you and I to imagine a time when the MCU wasn't a part of, just our movie-going lives and whatever. Right. Imagine being under 20. If you're under 20, it has literally, for the most part, been a part of your life, growing up the whole time. And now this big event, this culmination event is almost like a rite of passage. And oh my God, the idea of that, and then having somebody for your birthday flying you out to LA to see it opening night at the Chinese theater. Dude, I'm not going to lie, I'm a little bit envious. I'm feeling a little bit of envy right here.
If I could just speak to you for just a minute, dude, wait till the IMAX logo turns on when they do the countdown at the Chinese. It's going to blow your mind. You're going to be like, holy You are gonna have. I want you to write back in and tell us what it was like. Hell, I want to go hang out outside the theater just to catch you and whoever brought you there, to just see the look in your eyes, because your mind is going to be blown and your eyes are going to be this big. So kudos to you. Happy birthday. You are going to have one heck of a good time in the Chinese theater.
Everything Rob just said. I wholeheartedly endorse. All right. Matsiv Jada writes, Endgame on the 24th in my country. Yeah, there's a lot of countries opening on the 24th. I'll let you guys know. I get to see it on the 22nd. So I'm going to see it on the 22nd. So there you go. But yeah, a lot of countries around the world are getting a little bit earlier than here. I mean, it's the same opening weekend, but a little touch earlier, which I think is really great. So have a good time, Matsiv. Let's see. Chanel Hope writes, could the clip with Thanos sitting be the Avengers going back to when he attacked Xandar? Could we see a final battle with all the MCU heroes at the end? I mean, it's totally possible. Personally, I don't see there being any need to go back to Xandar. I don't think they'll do that. Like a lot of people say, well, then why didn't they show us Thanos decimating Xandar? Because narratively, there was no purpose to it. All we needed to know is that Thanos attacked Xandar. That's all we needed. There was no narrative reason to put on action just for the sake of putting on action. There was a lot of other action. The other reason that makes me think that's not on Xandar is because Ant-Man, it looks like, because the color temperature of all those scenes are very, very similar. So I think that's all from the same place. Ant-Man, we see him in his little quick action sequence. He's using a regular pencil to, what's the word I'm looking for? Pole vault over something, right? So I don't think that's Xandar. Rob, do you think there's a possibility that's Xandar?
No.
Just flat out no.
No.
I mean, I suppose there's a few percentage chance, but I agree with you, Rob. I don't think that's what they're doing. Okay. Clay Woodley writes, John, this year I think we could see 10, maybe even 11 films join the $1 billion club. Ooh, I don't think so. The current record is 5, which is shared by 2015 and 2018. I believe that record can be broken because we already have one in Captain Marvel. Endgame is a foregone conclusion. I believe Lion King is a foregone conclusion. And Star Wars Episode 9 to me is a foregone conclusion. So those are the foregone conclusions. Then you've got several films that I believe have a high probability of crossing $1 billion. You're talking about Frozen 2, I think has a high chance of breaking $1 billion. Toy Story 4 has a high chance of breaking $1 billion. I don't know if there are 4 other films that we could honestly say have that same chance. Rob, can you think of a couple of more that could maybe break the $1 billion mark?
No. I mean, like we said, it's Episode 9, it's Frozen, it's Lion King, it's Endgame, Captain Marvel. It might be Hobbs and Shaw. I know that's
a possibility.
Chance,
yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? As much as I'm loathing to admit Hobbs and Shaw look, I love the Fast and Furious franchise. I'm excited for Hobbs and Shaw. It looks great. It could, because the last 2 have.
And does Jumanji come out this December?
What's that?
Does Jumanji come out this December or December 2020?
That's a good question. I don't know. Could Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson have $2 billion movies come out in a year? That would really be impressive.
Jumanji. Let me see here. Jumanji 2, the sequel, is officially getting release date for December 13th, 2019. So there's another one. So maybe Jumanji hits $1 billion. Maybe Hobbs and Shaw hits $1 billion. Now you need 2 others still to have a possibility to maybe get to 10. It's just a tall order. It's a tall order.
That would be so unprecedented as to be truly unbelievable.
But it does look like I think that record of 5 will be broken. I think that's a pretty safe one to say. Okay. Next up says, I'm upset writes, do you consider Dumbo 2019 a flop? I don't really know. Let me just pull up the box office here. Dumbo box office. Let's see. Where did it go? Okay, so it keeps bringing up the old Dumbo thing. So a second. Let me bring up this week's Dumbo. Okay, so Dumbo this week came in third, made another $18 million. It has made so far $213 million, so it hasn't broken even yet. And it has a production budget. I did not know this. Rob, do you know what the production budget on Dumbo is?
Probably huge.
$170 million. Wow. Anyway, it doesn't have big positive word of mouth. It took a 60% drop, which is okay if you had a huge opening weekend. This film did not have a huge opening weekend. I don't know. It's getting into that territory where I think it may not break even, but even if it doesn't break even, it's made enough to not necessarily call a flop. But I don't think it's going to break even at this point, which is, I don't think it's going to come anywhere close to breaking even. You know what? I take it back. Yeah, maybe it will be a flop. What do you think, Rob?
Well, it's tough. I mean, it's doing okay foreign. I think, look, I think Dumbo, perhaps, while it appealed to Tim Burton, it's not like Beauty and the Beast. You know, it's not like The Lion King or even The Jungle Book. Dumbo is really, even as a kid, I'm like, Dumbo was for little kids. You know, of all the Disney movies, like, give me Lady and the Tramp. You know, give me their Alice in Wonderland. And but Dumbo, even Pinocchio and Snow White, I would always choose over Dumbo. Because Dumbo seemed to me, you know, and I think that was maybe part of the problem. Even though I haven't seen it, it looks lavishly produced, and the cast is great. It's just, it's called Dumbo.
Oh, come on. It's still been beloved for generations, though.
I know, but it's
okay, we got to move on. We got to move on here. Jordan Solis writes, the NBA playoffs are starting, and LeBron has owned the East the last 8 years, but now that he went West, who do you see winning the East? Raptors, 76ers? I believe head above everybody. I believe the Raptors are the best team in the East. I've never felt that the Toronto Raptors are the best team in the East. I really do. With Kawhi Leonard there, I think they have a very well-rounded team. I expect to see the Raptors in the NBA championships. I mean, look, 76ers, Milwaukee, never count out Boston, but I'm actually going to pick my pick. If I had to have my back against the wall, I'm going to pick the Raptors. Avengers Chicken writes, I usually dislike romantic interest in superhero films, but when Tony and Pepper reunite, I will have some serious man tears. Dude, Rob, I've been saying this for a while. I do not like romantic interest in comic book films, but I have two exceptions. Tony and Pepper and Andrew Garfield's Peter and Emma Stone's Gwen Stacy. The chemistry of those have always worked. There have been a couple of others that have been okay, but for the most part, those are the only two I've ever really liked. Do they work for you?
Yeah, no, they do. You know, I really liked both Nicole Kidman and Kim Basinger in Tim Burton's, and Nicole Kidman in Batman Forever, but Kim Basinger in first Batman, Tim Burton's Batman, just because I love Kim Basinger.
Who doesn't? Oh, who doesn't? Yeah. Okay, next one comes to us from Dan Ketchum. Picard series seems to be in trouble. I have not heard anything about that. Have you heard anything about that, Rob?
No.
No. Well, I'll look into that, Dan, when we have a chance. Okay. Daniel Weissy writes, why wasn't Denai Guerrera's name on the Joker poster? Is she in the Joker?
I don't know.
Because if she's in the Joker, why is not? Why isn't her name on the poster? That's interesting. Okay.
In my mind, she should just be in everything anyway. She's that
Just put her in everything. It's Danny. Put her in everything. Denai. Okay. Where are we at here? And my voice is starting to go here, guys. The Fans writes, was thinking that recent Endgame marketing geared towards fans is maybe any scene that may appeal to newcomers could be spoilerish. Good day, guys. I mean, that's definitely a possibility. Look, I believe they made a creative decision to do that. And I think they knew, look, we're going to make so much money on this movie that it's okay if we leave a little bit on the table. It's okay. We're going to set so many records and we're going to make so much money in this movie that yes, maybe we could have made more. But they made a creative, artistic decision to carry their stuff a certain way and to promote it a certain way. And they just thought, you know what? We're going to make so much money, it doesn't even really matter. And I do think maybe a possibility of that is like, you know what? All this stuff that would make a great trailer for non-fans to get them out like we did for Infinity War, maybe that's stuff we don't want to reveal. So that might go into the creative decision-making. How would you respond to that, Robert?
Well, you know, I think that I would argue that the marketing for Endgame has been such that they're appealing to the heartstrings. You know, that they're as far as they could without revealing anything. I think they've made people interested. Like, wow, these superhero movies seem a little serious. Like, I didn't know there was so much heartfelt emotion. I think they've done a really good job appealing to people that might not be necessarily interested in any of this by making these characters look human, look troubled, look like they're beaten, and that there's some kind of a heroic coming together, a meeting of the minds, if you were. And I think the clip they released that we saw at CinemaCon speaks to that. I mean, I really think they've been going for the heartstrings. And even if you don't know much about the MCU, I think it might make people who aren't traditionally interested in superhero films more interested that, wow, this looks a little bit more adult and a little bit more nuanced than I thought. And so I think it has been a good way to market the film.
I'll disagree with you on that. I think if you didn't already know the MCU, I don't know that there's all that much emotion to those trailers. If you looked at those trailers cold, I think it just looks bland. When you know the material, it's incredibly emotional. But if you don't know their history and don't know what happened and don't know any of that stuff, I don't know that you'd feel that emotion or feel that drama. I don't. Maybe. I just don't know. All right. Hoser Maez writes, WrestleMania last night was good. Kofi Kingston. Again, I haven't watched it. I meant to see it. I have the WWE Network. I'll probably pop it up at some point to watch it. Let's see. DC Patience writes, my family is now visiting Endgame weekend, so had to cancel 2 showings. Oh, that sucks. Woke up at 5:30 a.m. to get those tickets. Seriously, almost cried, but family is important. Are they, though, DC? Are they?
Yeah, I was gonna say, what's more important than your Avengers family? They'll understand. It's 3 hours out of the day.
Yeah, they can come back again later. You get to see them again. Are they that important? No, I applaud your decision, DC. I do. I applaud your decision. All right, last couple of questions. I got to call it a day, guys. Shaw writes, watched Girl with All the Gifts last night and lost 2 hours of my life. Terrible ending. Melanie, one of the most selfish and awful lead characters ever. I have no idea what we're talking about, Shaw. Rob, are you familiar with Girl with All the Gifts? I've never even heard of it.
I love Girl with All the Gifts.
What is it?
It's a zombie movie. It's a zombie movie that takes, and it's a different kind of zombie film, and it starts out, the children are, well, I don't want to ruin it because it's got a great opening. I didn't see her as being selfish. I saw her as adapting to a new way of life that needed to be adapted to. I think The Girl with All the Gifts is one of the most unique. It's based on a novel. It's one of the most unique takes on the zombie genre. I truly adore that movie. I own the Blu-ray. Would you be surprised by that?
I would not.
I do.
All right. Last question today. And guys, there's still a whole bunch of live questions here, guys. Do not worry. We're going to gather up all these questions and they will get addressed in a companion video today because Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett has stepped up and said, Campea, your voice is killing you. I'll do the things today. So Rob's going to do the companion video for me today. And in that video, he's going to cut up on the ones that we had prior to our CinemaCon trip. So Rob has been gracious enough to agree to do that today. So keep your eyes open for that later today, guys. So again, from James Dim Sum all the way down, don't worry if you sent in a super chat, it will get addressed in a video today. Keep your eyes open for it. Okay. Final question of the day comes to us from Mr. Glorious One, who writes, legit heart attack when Disney said they'll do more Alien films. Do they finish the Covenant story, reboot, or do Blomkamp's script with James Cameron? I think the Blomkamp script is done. I don't think that's ever going to see the light of day, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I also, with the trajectory the Covenant storyline was going, I don't know why you would pick it up. Now, what he's talking about is when Rob and I were at CinemaCon, Disney did say, we're going to carry on existing IPs, and one of those IPs was Aliens. Something I didn't think they would do, but they are. I'm thinking I don't know if full-on out reboot, but even if it's not a full-on out reboot, I think they kind of start from scratch with their own story. I don't know, Rob. How do you think they're going to approach the Alien stuff?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think if they're going to do an Alien movie, I mean, both Covenant and Prometheus did pretty well worldwide at the box office.
Did they?
Yeah, they did okay, and especially on their spend. And I think they'll having Ridley Scott come back and finish out his trilogy. That's a safe way to do it.
Because Alien Covenant lost money. Alien Covenant made in total worldwide $240 million. So I think Prometheus did better than that.
Yeah, but it didn't. I mean, I don't think Covenant was the most expensive movie either in the world. It's a pretty
$100 million movie.
Right.
And then Prometheus did significantly better at $400 million. Cost $130 million to make, but $400 million. So I think that one did okay.
So maybe they could. I mean, I'd like to see them complete that franchise. They certainly ended it on a somewhat interesting note, even though I've not liked both of those movies for various reasons. But
yeah, a lot of people didn't like Covenant. I got a kick out of Covenant. I gotta say, I did like Covenant, but I know a lot of people didn't.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of fun stuff in it, but it just is. I think they've taken the Alien out of the Alien franchise with Prometheus and Covenant. One of the great things about the first Alien is that creature was so unknowable. There's just things in the universe that we aren't meant to know, and that creature, the origin of the xenomorph, was one of those things. And now it's like, nah, it was created by a psycho robot from Earth.
Yeah, this didn't like that direction. All right, guys, that will do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you for being here and for putting up with my voice as it is. I really appreciate it, guys. Don't forget, we'll be back again tomorrow. And again, a companion video is coming a little later today with all the questions we didn't have time to get around to. We'll get through more of them tomorrow, guys. I promise my voice will be better tomorrow. We'll be good to go. I want to thank, of course, the one and the only, the wonderful Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett for being here. Robert, where can people find you online?
Well, you can find me on Twitter at BurnettRM, find me on Instagram at RMBurnett, or find me on my own YouTube channel, The Burnettwork, and its companion website, theburnettwork.net.
And of course, you guys can follow me on Instagram, simply at John Campea, and all the wonderful conversations we have there. Guys, that'll do for today. Thank you for being a part of the film fan community, guys. You make it worth getting up in the morning every single day. That'll do it for us for now. Thanks a lot for being here, guys. My name is John Campea, and until next time, bye-bye.